my name is Mark Reigelman. I'm at the BRIC Rotunda Gallery for the Cultural Fluency show on display through April 27th. My artistic practice. Well, I specialize in site-specific works. Essentially, that means I don't come to a specific site with a preconceived notion of what I'm going to create. How I work is I approach a site and investigate its architectural details, its history, the people that engage with the space, and that information dictates or directs the concept and then ultimately directs the aesthetics of a piece. And so it allows me a lot of freedom in terms of material, in terms of scale, in terms of interaction, but it means that my body of work covers a lot of different spectrums. It has a lot of different concepts, and it's just constantly changing and shifting from piece to piece. So no two pieces will ever be the same. They might have some similarities or overlaps, but everyone is very much unique in terms of that site. Okay, Stair Squares. Stair Squares started, I was doing an internship in New York, and I spent my 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, in an office, and then all the other hours, all the other days, or the Monday through Friday, I was just spending walking around New York City and Brooklyn. And I was really interested in all the stoops, in the step-sitting culture, which is, I come from Ohio, and it just doesn't exist there. And here, it's such an inherent part of the culture that I just became really fascinated with that. So when I went back to Cleveland after my internship was over, I just started developing ideas for kind of seating pieces that could be applied to steps. In that following summer, I won a grant to execute this specific concept, which I called Stair Squares, somewhere in New York City. So I just started approaching different kind of grand staircases that seemed like a good fit for the piece. And the Brooklyn Borough Hall ended up being the site that we went with, which was perfect because it's really a staircase that is used for pedestrians just to kind of sit and relax, and it's in an area where there's a lot of impromptu lunches, a lot of pedestrian traffic, and so functionally the piece fit very well at this site. And so each stair square was custom fabricated to fit on the steps of Brooklyn Borough Hall. So the kind of pedestal that we have here are built to those same specifications. The only problem with a piece like Stair Square is that it fits only in that site, and the likelihood of it fitting on another staircase is very, very unlikely. So, the installation happened. It was up for about 2 weeks, and then they went into storage for the next several years. But the piece was really interesting in terms of how it interacted with the public. So we had 14 of these pieces across the staircase, and at first people would be a little bit wary of approaching them, but shortly after, people got an understanding. After a day or so, people understood, okay, these are here as a functional asset to our lunches or conversations. And then once people had a better understanding just from interacting with the pieces, it became such a kind of a popular interactive place on the staircase. So people would automatically go right up to it, sit on the side of it, and pop their lunch or their newspaper or their coffee, and then their companion would sit on the other side, and they would have a romantic lunch, and people would kind of stick their bags in here while they were reading a book. So in terms of function, it really was a beautiful installation, and for me it was really interesting to kind of watch public work have such a good union between pedestrian and object. So, Aaron asked me to present the Stair Squares for the Cultural Fluency show. The first problem with that for me was that there was only one Stair Square left in existence. They were in storage for about 5 years, and at some point I thought, I'm never going to use these again. I might as well, get rid of them. So I scrapped all the pieces, except for this little guy. So this is the last remaining piece from the original installation. So when Aaron approached me, I was kind of like, yes, I would love to present it, but I only have one. How can we make this work? So we ended up devising a plan where we built a replica staircase of the Brooklyn Borough Halls, a replica in terms of dimension, not material. And then we fabricated a couple kind of ghost stair squares, just so people could have a better understanding of what they look like on a staircase together. So pedestrians would be sitting on different levels, and these would kind of have a rhythmic pattern across the staircase, if you can imagine them, staggered at different heights across the staircase. So we built this staircase, which is about 8 feet long, 4 feet tall, and then built a couple ghost stair squares. They're, I think, 18 by 18 by 24 inches. And then we also have a photograph of the installation, so people could have a very clear understanding of the goals of the piece and how it actually looked and how people interacted with them. And so the image on display really captures flawlessly how pedestrians interacted with it. And this wasn't, it looks staged. It's so beautiful that it looks staged, but this is just kind of, at lunchtime every day for those 2 weeks while it was installed. This is the kind of interaction that we had. It was just beautiful. And so we wanted to build something that was, pretty specific to the space, but very true to the original installation, and something that people could still interact with on a certain level, but have a good, clear understanding of how it existed, in 2007 when it was originally installed. While I was developing this concept, and I was trying to find a site for it, I was having a lot of trouble just making that initial contact with these, places that had these grand staircases. And while I was in Cleveland at the time, kind of developing this and trying to make contacts in New York. At that time, Christo and Jean-Claude were doing a presentation on their work at Severance Hall. And I've always been very fascinated with his work, just because of the scale and the amount of people it takes to create some of his installations. So I went to the presentation and was really moved by all the things that they were talking about. And afterwards, I kind of stalked them out on the street, and I kind of ran up and said, "Christo and Jean-Claude, I'm working on this project," and I had a binder full of things, and I was so young and naive at this point, it was so perfect. I was like, "I'm working on this project, and I wanted to go in New York, and I was wondering if you can help me out." And Christo didn't really say much. He spoke to Jean-Claude in, I'm not sure what language, but not one that I can speak. And Jean-Claude turned and was like, let me see it. And she was looking through it, and she's like, "Okay, I think I can help. Here's my fax number." And she wrote down her fax number and said, "Fax me the details on Monday. We're going to be back in New York. Fax me the details, and I'll connect you with someone." So I faxed her all the information. Within minutes, she faxed me just some handwritten numbers of people. At the time, it was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, like the curator of design, the curator of art, So all these lists. So she said, "Call these people. I already told them you'll be calling, so everything will be fine." So I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. And so I called all these people, and they were, very excited and enthusiastic to help. And so they helped me at least start the conversation with other people. So it started at the Met, and then it moved to the New York Public Library, and then it started the chain just moved through all these different people and all these different locations until someone introduced me to Marty Markowitz, which is the mayor of Brooklyn. And he said, "Oh, we have a great staircase here in Brooklyn. Come check it out." So I went out here, and it was like, it was so obvious that this was the site that was meant to be for these stair squares. Thank you for listening to me. Be sure to come check out the show, Cultural Fluency, on display at BRIC Rotunda Gallery through April 27th.